Welcome into the Sports Hub Golf Club. A special treat today. This is like the Merv Griffin show. We have an entire panel to talk about one of the more exciting aspects of golf, and that is the actual golf course. Hardy, what do you have? Designers on? No. What do you have? The guys who build the clubhouses? No. I talk about the real heroes, the unsung heroes of the industry. I'm talking about superintendents. And that's who we're talking with today. And special thanks to the guy who really suggested this, the executive director. Hardy, you've got the executive director on the show. I do. The executive director for the Golf Course Superintendents Association of New England, Andrew, don't call him Ingham. Andrew, thank you so much for your suggestion and for being on the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Hardy. It's a new role for me. I'm thrilled to lead this association of, which I always believe is the backbone of every facility at every club. I mean, the golf course superintendent and their staff, their entire teams are tireless workers. They don't have an off season. In the off season, they've got to deal with tree removal and snow removal. But when it comes time for the golf course, I mean, those guys are right back at it, and their days get longer. And it's certainly needed that, the superintendents and my association, got to get some notoriety and some recognition because, not only are they just leaders in their field, but, they're experts in science and plant grass. And that's I'm happy to get on there with these two gentlemen.
Well, let's introduce these two gentlemen who we have with us today. Chris Donadio, who is the super at Woodland Golf Club in Newton. Chris, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And also we have from Fresh Pond Golf Course, Alec Martin, who is the superintendent over at Fresh Pond in Cambridge. Alex, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Artie. Good to be here.
These are two courses that I know pretty well. Fresh Pond a little bit better. Radio station used to be over in Brighton, and Fresh Pond was a great option for me to go grab a quick 9 after the show before I had to pick up the kids, and have played the 9 holes at Fresh Pond a lot. I wish I could say I've played Woodland a lot, but the only member that I really am close to is my morning show partner, Fred Toucher. Oh, yep. You would think I'm out there every week. No.
You didn't negotiate that into this?
I did not negotiate it. I think Fred himself played twice last year, and I was with him for one of those rounds. Plus, I don't know if anybody likes him there. You probably don't even know who he is because the guy plays golf like twice a year.
I don't see him much, no.
But two fantastic golf courses here. Let's talk a little bit. We'll go back to Andrew here for a second in terms of like having all these guys together, Andrew, in one association. What is the purpose of that? Why do you have all the supers around New England be part of one entity?
Yeah, so I guess first off, Hardy, so our company is called the Golf Course Superintendents Association of New England. The reality is we're kind of the Massachusetts chapter. When the association was formed, they gave it the entity of the Golf Course Superintendents Association of New England. But, what it was initially, it was built or, established to get greenskeepers together, back, 60, 70 years ago to sit and, discuss practices that each person was doing at their facility. And it was also for more of a, a networking to build a club and to have friends and grow and learn from others. Over the course of time, it's certainly evolved to, it's not only just golf course superintendents and their assistants, but we also have our allied partners, so the reason our association operates is financially because of the dues of our membership, but also, the generosity of 31 as of right now partners for 2025. And those people allow us to have the funds available to promote scholarships, to donate money to the UMass Turf Grass Management Program, work with lobbyists throughout the state, to make sure that they have our word and our back on everything that's happening. But the reality is we want our association, the Golf Course Superintendents in New England, to be as strong as can be. So when a potential job opens up, that particular club is looking inside of our organization. They're not going to go outside of our organization. We're all about trying to grow, be as strong as we can be from within, and grow from within.
I guess this question could be for anybody, but I'll just keep you on for a second longer here, Andrew. A lot of people looking to get into sports as a profession. I run into it a lot at the radio station. People reaching out to me. I want to get into sports management. I want to get into sports broadcasting. I'm sure there are still a lot of people who are trying to get into golf. I know it went through a weird period during COVID. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people in the golf industry just got overworked. And it seemed like there was some real burnout going on during that time. You can either confirm or deny that. But in terms of this job and getting into the more technical side of golf, superintendents, what is that job market like? How are people coming into it now? And what's that field like right now in terms of a way to make a living?
Yeah, so right now we're pretty strong. We certainly had a little bit of a downturn, a few years ago. A lot of the people were, quote unquote, as you said, getting burned out and just looking at other opportunities. They didn't really get into the turf grass management program. But right now, statistically at all the turf grass schools in the country, their numbers are kind of back to levels, to where they were about 10 to 12 years ago. And, certainly Chris and Alex, I think, can speak more to this with regards to, what made them get into this profession and what they see the future looking like.
Chris,
Yeah.
I'll start with you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got out of school 20 years ago, and I mean, there wasn't a job in the market back then. I mean, it was full. We went through, 2015 to, maybe, still currently the job candidates, the pool of candidates that's out there is very small, especially for guys coming up. A lot of the people that I graduated with from 20 years ago aren't in the industry anymore. There just wasn't enough turnover, and there's so few jobs to be had, especially geographically, that you kind of, you get stuck in a holding period where you can't go anywhere.
Alex, you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really difficult, as a young kid in college, trying to start a career, to be told that, you're going to work 6 days a week, maybe 7 days a week. You're going to have to get up really early. Maybe you might have to start work at 4:30 in the morning like we do at Fresh Pond. And that's not really attractive to a lot of young people. And so they don't really get into that. So it's been really tough. I think, I've been here at Fresh Pond for 8 years. It's been really difficult to find help. I think we've been lucky maybe because we're a smaller course to fill roles. But it's been really difficult. Luckily, I think since COVID, it's been a little easier. Golf has been very popular. And so more people are just kind of, funneled towards, this industry a little bit more.
Chris, you mentioned a few minutes ago, Chris Donadio, by the way, he's the head super at Woodland Golf Club. You mentioned getting out of school when you got into the business. Where did you go to school? Did you go to school specifically for this?
I did. I attended UMass Amherst. Stockbridge program, which, like I was saying, when I graduated, 250, 300 kids in the graduating class. I'm hiring assistants today that are graduating with 4 or 5 kids in their graduating class.
Wow.
So it is drastically different. But like Andy was saying, this year I have, a couple young assistants who are either just graduated the turf program or in it currently. And I actually have 2 interns coming that are currently in the turf program as well. So there are more candidates seemingly available in the recent years than were a few years back.
My daughter is heading off to UMass Amherst in the fall, so maybe I will steer her toward that program just for the job opportunities that might await her.
Yes.
4 years from now. How about you, Alex? School specifically for this?
Yeah, I also went to the Stockbridge School at UMass Amherst, and then continued on and got my bachelor's in plant and soil science from UMass Amherst.
Gotcha. I think there was a big turf management program at Michigan State where I went, and Lord knows they had the room for it. It was called MooU for a long time. I think they've kind of lost that moniker, but between the buildings you see on the far reaches of campus, names on them like animal husbandry and swine research, but just fields and fields of, you could tell they're growing different grasses there.
Right.
And just, different plots and different things. So it's a fascinating area of study. I think Scott Zolak did a lot of turf management study while he was at Maryland. Well, somebody went to a lot of classes for Scott Zolak in turf management. Also a different era. If you're a starting quarterback at a, big enough school, I don't think you really had to attend class so much.
Right.
But it's something that, has been studied for years and years and years. So let's talk a little bit about what happened after school. Again, Chris, starting with you. Where else have you worked? I assume you didn't land the job at Woodland straight out of school.
Right. So I bounced around a couple private clubs in the Boston area. I've worked at Black Rock, Blue Hills, Walpole Country Club, and then after college, Cohasset Country Club. And then I took the job at Woodland 18 years ago as the assistant, and then transitioned 6 years ago into become the superintendent.
Okay.
So I stayed local. I wanted to live in the area. So, my choice of clubs were kind of dependent on, my career path and what I saw as good opportunities in golf.
Sure. What about you, Alex?
Yeah. In 2012, straight out of college, I went to work at Blue Hill Country Club. Actually, I did that for 5 years, and then got the superintendent job at Fresh Pond in 2016.
Okay, so I'm pretty close to Blue Hill where I live. I live in Canton, so I don't know. I'm sure there are much different courses in terms of conditions and what you have available to you, but that's a really good example right there. So at Blue Hill, you've got 27 holes to deal with. You don't have any large bodies of water nearby. What's the transition like going from that club, private club, 27 holes, to a 9-hole municipal, as far as I know, at Fresh Pond, owned by the city of Cambridge, with what I'm hoping is a big body of water that you can draw from for irrigation purposes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but those are two pretty different scenarios.
Yeah. So to answer your question, going from 27 to 9 was great. I would recommend it to anybody. I never want to go back to 27 if I could have the choice. So yeah, I think it's just, it's the same type of thing. You're doing the same maintenance. You're just doing it to a third of the area, basically. So your scope kind of narrows down, which is nice. But yeah, also the Fresh Pond reservation is Cambridge's drinking water supply. Our irrigation water does not come out of there. They're not hydraulically connected at all.
As far as the city knows. I got you.
No. We have Little Fresh Pond, we call it, is separated from Big Fresh, and that's where our irrigation water comes out of.
Okay.
So they're not connected. They can fill us up if we need to, but rarely ever happens.
Okay. I guess, at Woodland, you've got the the task of maintaining a golf course for private club members. Have you worked at a public course before, Chris?
I have never, no.
Okay.
I've only ever worked in private.
Okay. So, in terms of maintaining the conditions, do you have a greens committee to deal with? Do you have members who serve on certain areas who advise you?
I have 500 advisors on a daily basis.
Oh, how lucky you are, because, you think you're in this all by yourself, you and your staff, and luckily you've got 500, not advisors, but experts when it comes to golf course maintenance. And God, you must feel like the luckiest super on the planet.
It can be difficult to manage at times. I think the biggest problem is I think a lot of times they don't know what they want. I think they think they want conditions that they're seeing on TV, and then they play that, and I think they're realizing that that isn't acceptable for daily golf.
I'm kind of shocked when I go play a club, and I tell you what, Blue Hill was one last year. It was a windy time of year. It had been a little dry. The greens were rolling unbelievably fast, but I played that, I don't know, maybe a few days after I played Dedham for the first time. And I'd never played Dedham Polo before.
Oh,
I'm still having nightmares about those greens, and the members must want them that way. I just don't know why anyone would want them that way. We have multiple putts that started just a tiny bit above the hole, and I was playing with guys who were good. Like I single digit, low single digit, and those putts not only didn't stay on the green, they ended up 30 yards down the fairway if you missed the ball and it either rolled past the hole or missed on the low side and it's gone. I mean, I don't know who would want that.
I played Dedham last fall, and it was a very similar occurrence for myself as well. And I think when we play a lot of the events, everybody's pushing the conditions for superintendents and guests and whatnot, and that does become an issue. I mean, we're all not that good,
Right.
And we're playing conditions that are ridiculous.
Alex, how about it going from the public side, or going to the public side, I should say, where you are now at Fresh Pond, from the private side? Budgetary restrictions, does that affect you in any way? The type of golfer you're trying to cater to, does that affect how you're maintaining the course?
Yeah, for sure. We are not trying to roll at an 11 or a 12 every day on the stimp meter. Our greens, we're more of like a 9. And I don't think it's about speed. I think it's about consistency, how the ball rolls across the green. If it's smooth and it's going to roll the way that you want it to roll, the speed's not the important thing. So we just try to maintain smooth greens, consistent greens. And I think we do a pretty good job with that. Budgetary wise, we don't have a bad budget with the city of Cambridge. But a lot of it does go towards payroll. Prevailing wage rates can cut into budgets, stuff like that. But we're not in a bad position.
Okay. Well, it's all about superintendents on this week's Sports Hub Golf Club. Next, I want to talk some more specifics because you guys mentioned a couple of terms here that really got my juices flowing. So we're going to do that next. Here on the Sports Hub Golf Club with, we got a whole panel today. We have Andrew Ingham, who is the executive director of the, help me out again here, Andrew.
The Golf Course Superintendents Association of New England.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you for beating me to the punch. Andrew is here with us, along with a couple of supers, Chris Donadio, who is the head super at Woodland Golf Club, and Alex Martin, who is the head super at Fresh Pond in Cambridge. Andrew, just so I have a little bit more on your background here, you ever worked as a super yourself?
So, Hardy, I have not worked as a superintendent.
What are we doing then?
It's funny. So, that's a popular question amongst my membership.
Yeah.
So no, great. I guess it's funny. So my lineage is I went to college and then I get out and I was a club professional. Actually started out as an assistant pro at Woodland for a number of years and stayed in the golf professional world for 15 to 20 years or whatnot. And then I left to pursue a career in sales, of which I spent the last 10 years prior to my current role. But I guess the reason that I'm here is the relationships that I had built, over 10 years of selling, was something that I will never forget. And the friendships are going to be lifelong. And when this opportunity happened, I mean, I followed a gentleman who was a longtime superintendent, sat in my role for, close to 20 years, Don Hearn, and he retired to go enjoy life. And when this opportunity came available, I put all my eggs in this basket because it's something that I truly wanted to do is, lead this association of phenomenal people who do phenomenal work. And happy to be here.
I would imagine that you learned pretty early on, while you were an assistant or a head pro or a director of golf, that unless there is something glaringly obvious that is being neglected or poorly maintained in the golf course, it's probably within your best interest to have a close working relationship with the super, but not overstep your bounds, because it would be akin to them walking into the pro shop and saying, "Hey, that's a dumb way to score the ladies' league. You really should be doing Stableford for this on Tuesday nights." It's like you've got your area that you're trying to run. You have to trust the super that they know what they're doing, and probably much like a guy who's losing his hair. Yeah, no offense to you, Andrew. I've gone through the same thing. You don't have to point out things to somebody if they're already taking care of it and managing it. I would imagine you have to be very careful when developing your relationship with the super as either a pro or a director of golf.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. I guess, back in the day, it was almost as if the golf pro and the superintendent, never really had much of a relationship. And it's funny, wherever I worked at, I always had a phenomenal relationship with the turf department and all their employees. And I don't know whether it's just my personality, but listen, customers, members are paying to go play golf, or they're paying to be members at a private club. And what's the one thing that really matters? The golf course. If the golf course is good, everything else is better. The hamburgers taste good. The pool water is clean. Everything is better if the golf course is good. And it's the reason the golf course is good is because of the association that I'm representing. These men are the truly, men and women they're the backbones of the facilities. When the golf course is good, everything else is good. And, it's my people, my team, my members that are the reason the golf courses are so good. I mean, their expertise and their wealth of knowledge and science and everything. So it's really good.
So, Chris, I'm wondering, have you had, let's just say, some relationships with professionals, head professionals, directors of golf that have been easier than others? That's the kindest way I can ask the question.
Yeah, so I've been at Woodland now for so long that, and same as our golf professionals, right? They're, I'm still the new guy to them. Our head professional that had, just stepped down, had been there 40 something years. Our new head professional has been there over 20. So we all have worked together a long time and have really good relationships. I mean, do we get on each other's nerves or, at each other's throats at points? Of course. But, at certain points, it's always a working relationship. And I think you need that, especially in the private club world where, something starts in the pro shop about conditions or about, something going on the course. I need that coming back to me. So you need to have that working relationship.
How about it, Alex? Any one relationship that has been better than another?
At Fresh Pond, I came in to a director of golf, Bob Carey, who was here for 33 years before he retired 2 years ago. And then taking over for him as the new director of golf is Joanna Krupa, who was assistant at Belmont Country Club. And she's been around to a lot of other places too. Both relationships have been great. Everyone has their different personalities, but I think kind of like Chris said, the most important thing is that the comments that come into the pro shop get related to the superintendent in a nice way, in a kind way, so that we can deal with them on our own time, and that it's not like a combative type of thing.
Gotcha. All right. I don't know who mentioned stimp meter a little while ago, but
I should have never said it. I shouldn't have said it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's too late. You already said it. So now I'm going to ask you. Do you guys actually have a stimp meter that you take out there and roll to see what the greens are rolling at?
It's in my cart every day.
Is it really?
Yes.
No kidding. Okay.
Yep.
I thought that was just something you told idiots like me. It's like, oh, we got it rolling at 11 today, Hardy. You're going to be happy with that. Like, am I? Okay, good.
That might happen on occasion, but yeah, we do. Typically we do like to know where they are at, more for, what we're doing, ergonomically. We like to see where they're at for events and whatnot. There's a ton of new equipment coming out. The USGA has a golf ball that you can roll across, and now it's putting that information on a platform that you can access all the time, and it's not just a pen and piece of paper. So there's new stuff coming out. The technology that's coming out is crazy these days. But yeah, no, I'd say I have one on my golf cart, and my equipment manager has one in his golf cart every day.
How much attention do you pay to making sure that the practice green is rolling at the same speed as the greens on the course? And take your time before you answer.
You always make the practice green slower than the rest of the greens on the course.
I thought so. Do you really?
Yeah. So the other greens seem faster.
What? Why would you do?
Hardy, you asked the question, man. You should have done it.
Do you? All right, let me put it to you this way, because now things are getting combative. Do you pay any attention? Is it within your list of priorities ever to make the practice green essentially roll the same as the other greens?
It's on the radar. I'd say it doesn't happen at a lot of clubs, and I don't think it's by design. I think it's just how we operate, and I think it's amount of play that's being on the practice green. It just doesn't get the attention that a lot of the other greens get.
Okay, and I think that's fair. And Alex, I think this is fair. And I don't think there is a range. There may be a warm-up swing area. Do you have like a cage or something at Fresh Pond that you can hit balls into, mat or anything? No? Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, so but in terms of like the actual range versus the club, I get it because the range also gets so much play and you can only do so much, moving of the range back and forth, or maybe your mats for weeks at a time, depending on conditions. So if golfers are willing to accept that the range is going to have a different consistency than the course, I guess we can wrap our pretty little heads around the fact that the practice green might roll a little differently than the greens on the course.
Right. Now, that's one of my biggest challenges to date, and I think since COVID is the increase in the practice. Our driving range is grass, and we have mat access as well, and just the amount of people, the amount of traffic that's up on the driving range, is probably threefold what it was years ago. So that grass has taken a beating, and it's never, once we get through it, it's never what it was. So obviously the areas didn't get bigger the more rounds we're doing now.
Okay. In terms of golf course maintenance by the people who are out there playing golf, Alex, I don't want to cast aspersions on public golf course players in general because that's what I have been for most of my life. I proudly call myself a muni rat and only joined a club myself about 6 years ago. So I like to think that I've always known what to do on a golf course and how to behave. But I imagine you have some horror stories, and probably you too, Chris. But we'll start with Alex in terms of what you've seen. What's the most egregious misstep you've seen a golfer take on your golf course in terms of not treating the course nicely?
The biggest thing is we do have a really small putting green. It's right behind the ninth green, maybe only 25 feet. So a shot over the ninth green, there's no way to stop somebody from chipping that ball back onto the ninth green from the putting green. So that happens kind of often, which is unfortunate.
So if they overshoot 9 and it lands on the tiny practice green, they'll just try and hit a flop shot that is almost certainly going to dig into the turf.
Yeah, you have to take a massive pelt of turf, 9 inches long. The ball has to go 60 feet in the air and land perfectly.
Now, in your experience, since you've been at both, are private club golfers any better when it comes to how they maintain, or is there a sense of entitlement that some private club members feel that, no, I don't have to replace my divot. I don't have to use that seed mixture. I pay to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's they know better, but they like to defy the rules because they pay money or something. It's almost worse at a private place. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we have a good contingent of members that will overdo it. I have members that will drive around and collect divots and disperse them out throughout the property as they play. Which yeah, so there's a balance between the two, and I think some of them take it very, very serious, and then the others don't. And I think that's always the divide.
Okay, let's talk about a hot button issue here: trees. Seen courses over the years, courses that host U.S. Opens, courses here locally, taking down trees not due to illness sometimes, but just for the playability of the golf course. Sometimes it's at a U.S. Open setup where they want to make the more shot making available to the players. If you blow it into the wrong fairway, they don't want to see anybody out of a hole. Sometimes, and I think this is maybe the best reason for traditionalists. You're on this beautiful Donald Ross layout. George Wright might be an example where you're trying to get it back into its condition the way the architect originally envisioned it 100 years ago. Well, these trees weren't nearly as tall. A lot of them weren't here. So trees get taken out. How do you guys feel about it? And how do members generally feel about it? Or the plain public, in your case, Alex, how do they feel about it?
Yeah, so the city of Cambridge has a pretty large forestry department. And so it's not really my decision as to whether a tree comes out or stays in. I have bi-yearly meetings with the city arborists, and we'll go around and we'll say, this tree or that tree, and they'll say, yes, we can, or no, we can't, or let's wait another year. We very rarely will take a tree out because of playability. It has to be like a serious growing environment thing where it's doing damage, or the tree itself is diseased, old, dying.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah,
trees, take them all out, or try and leave them when you can.
Newton has pretty strict ordinances when it comes to trees. So we really have to play by the rules, and we are not allowed to cut anything down that's not disease, dangerous, or dying. We need approval on that as well. But you know, it has become an issue over the years. Everything's getting bigger. You know, trees impact turf, and that, you know, when you watch a PGA event, there's no trees overhanging a green, as you would see in these older New England golf courses that you currently play. So it is a challenge. We try to offset it with a lot of, you know, pruning and tree maintenance to kind of open up the playing corridors and let some sunlight through without taking down the entire tree.
If you're just joining us, we've got a panel